Howdy do, I'm Ghoulie Joe, and for Throwback Thursday, it's technically Friday, but I started on Thursday, is the 1978 film Eyes of Laura Mars. It stars Faye Dunaway. You know, she's one of those classic actresses in the critically acclaimed movies like Chinatown and Mommie Dearest and The Bye-Bye Man. She plays a photographer who's famous for depicting images of violence, usually against women. And she suddenly has an acquaintance come up murdered, and she saw it happen ahead of time. But she thought it was just a dream, and then it keeps happening, and she finds a sympathetic police officer named Neville, who's played by Tommy Lee Jones, who is so young and his hair is like down to here. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything older than 1994. I'm like, damn, he was pretty. I mean, he still is, but never seen him so young before. And until she can figure out who the killer is, the future is doomed to repeat itself. John Carpenter has a writing credit on the film. He pretty much wrote the script, and then it got taken from him and rewritten by a whole bunch of other people. But he had a little movie come out a couple months later called Halloween, so, you know. I really like the cast. I like Faye Dunaway. I like Tommy Lee Jones. And aside from them, there are the suspicious dudes lurking in the background. There's Laura's driver, scruffy loner named Tommy, who's played by Brad Dourif, and Laura's ex-husband Michael, played by Raul Julia, and Laura's agent Donald, Rene Auberjonois. My French accent's getting a little better. Auberjonois. And the extras and the minor characters are pretty diverse for 1978, which is great. Obviously, a major image system in the movie is eyes and the gaze. You know, all caps. That's how I learned it in film classes. And so we're pondering whether gore opens our eyes or desensitizes us. The controversy around Laura's photos mirrors the controversy behind horror movies. In one scene, Laura uses a camera to try to explain to Neville how her visions work, and she says, "What you're seeing through that lens is what the killer sees." And this reminds us that through Laura and through the movie, we're complicit in the murders. We're watching them ourselves. We're voyeurs. Yeah. And Laura, of course, she defends her art. She sees it as art. And she's talking about violence, saying, I can't stop it, but I can show it and make people look at it. And so I wouldn't say that's what horror movies do. At least not all of them, but it's food for thought. Laura's a pretty cool character, especially for the 70s. She is independent, intelligent, she's fairly brave. But then when she falls for Neville and vice versa, things get insufferably mushy for a little bit. These are direct quotes. Laura, I can't understand how it's possible to live your whole life without someone and be doing more or less okay, and then suddenly you find them. And John says, you recognize them. And she says, you recognize them, and you know without them. John whispered, it's terrifying. Laura, yes. John, it's beautiful. Yes. Meanwhile, there's actually one gay character, Donald, Laura's agent, Rene Auberjonois. He's just campy enough to indicate that he's gay, but he's not overly foofy. There's one scene when Donald and Laura kick Tommy out of Donald's birthday party because I don't know why they want him around. It's kind of mean. But then Donald says, we'll save you a piece of cake. And Tommy says, you're a piece of cake. And then he dresses as Laura, Donald does, to distract the police who are watching her so she can get away and help Michael, which doesn't really come to anything. He disappears for a goodish amount of the movie. But the police catch him, and they figure out they've been tricked, and one of them calls him nuts, and he says, I'm sick of this name calling crap. And so his depiction as a gay dude is actually less offensive than the depiction of police officers in the movies, because they're all rather stupid and incompetent, and especially Neville, he's like, let's go walk in the woods, even though I'm on duty, and let's go to your house and get busy. And he even says himself that he's unprofessional. And so, but overall, I liked it. It's not scary, but it's entertaining, and the ending actually surprised me. I recommend it. And so if you like what you saw, I have lots more videos and more all the time. And I have a WordPress and a Facebook for my Ghoulie Jew. And so thank you for your kind attention. Night night.